It's the House Whisperer, KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. I am Dean Sharp, home designer, builder, and for the next hour, your personal home improvement mentor. School is in session, kids.
I'm pure Southern California, born and raised. My adopted family was very old school blue collar construction stock. So when I showed up with my whole creative philosophical nature, it was total square peg round hole. But from that life grew this deep abiding love for the value of hard work and the smell of soil and sawdust. My first carpentry job was an 11,000 square foot mansion in Bel Air, and shockingly it went really well. And then came another, and another, and another, and then all of a sudden I'm working from Hollywood Hills to Beverly Hills to Malibu. And before I knew it, a decade had gone by and I had not built a house smaller than 10,000 square feet. These are projects where creativity is king. And for me, that's the heart of it. Design matters most. Personally, my wife and I have never lived in more than 1,500 square feet. So this was bound to happen. I was going to bring my designs home, back to my roots. Inspired designs for everyday houses in a way that everyday people can afford, in order to give the places where most of us live a soul. And after a while, when we had transformed a lot of hopeless houses, those very happy owners started calling me the House Whisperer. So far, I have never met a house that couldn't be transformed into something amazing. So now, I get to spend my days as the artist and the philosopher. And after all these years, I still get to get my hands dirty. And I love it.
Dan, are you there?
Yes.
Dan. Okay, here we go.
We have 12 listeners. Well, famous among our 12 listeners. We have 12 loyal listeners. Oh, 14 now, I guess, technically. This year we decided we have 14. Because the show is just growing in massive popularity. We now have 14 listeners. And among those 14 people, we are a household name. Just know that. Just know it. Be proud, Tina. Feel some pride. All right. You're home with Dean Sharp, the House Whisperer. I'm so glad you joined me this morning. We are talking about glues and tapes. That's why we're so famous. That's right, because it's hot topics like this that just keep people riveted to the radio. But they are valuable. Very, very valuable. And we will get back to that in just a bit. Even better, though, I got to say, are the calls. When our callers call in and want to talk about their house. And it is time to do exactly that right now. So let's go to the phones.
Dan, are you there?
Yes.
Dan. Okay, here we go.
KFI AM 640, live everywhere on the iHeart Radio app. Hey, welcome to home, where every week we help you better understand that place where you live. I am Dean Sharp, the House Whisperer, here with you live like I am every weekend. Saturday mornings from 6 to 8 Pacific time and Sunday mornings 9 to noon Pacific time. Welcome to our program. It is the first weekend of September. Oh, I know. Warm weather is coming back, and the weather's a little funky this weekend, but you know what? I call September the foyer of autumn. It's the foyer of fall. It's enough. It's enough for me. My favorite time of year, autumn, and then winter here in Southern California, which is, everywhere else, autumn plus, But I just love the time of year that we're entering into. It's not just because of the holidays. It's the weather. It's just everything. And there's just little hints of it out there today, especially if you get up early in the morning, feel it, and I'm stoked. I just got to tell you, it just feels great. Right now, the breeze is blowing. There's something in the air. Has always been. It's not just because I'm in my autumn years. No, go away. No, it's not. It's always been my favorite time of year. From the very first day I went to school as a kindergartner, because, back in the day, we actually didn't go to school until after Labor Day. Thank you very much. What is this August thing? Anyway, I'm just saying, you got your lunch pail, you're headed into school for the first day of school, and, there's leaves blowing across the side. It's just nostalgia plus. It just is. Anyway, there you go. There's my official weather commentary on the weekend. We are here talking about glues and adhesives. I know you are riveted. I know. You don't have to tell anybody. You don't have to confess that you're as much DIY nerd as I am. I know you're riveted. And if you are just tuned in, have you got a treat waiting ahead of you as we continue our conversation about glue and tape, which we will. But right now, it's the top of the hour, and I want to go back to the phones as promised, okay? So let's do that. I want to talk to Stan. Hey, Stan.
Hello, Dean. Hey, speaking of your 14 or 16 listeners, you've got two up here on the north coast of America, Teresa and me, and we really enjoy your shows. But here's my question, sir.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, Stan, wait.
Yeah.
Where are we talking?
We're near Toledo, Ohio, on Lake Erie, but we go to Mackinac Island often, and so we hit all the Great Lakes. Love the Great Lakes.
Oh, my gosh. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you know that my daughter-in-law, Christy, the amazing Christy, she grew up in Fremont, Ohio.
You're kidding. Fremont? No. Well,
Fremont is now our home away from home.
Wow. Fremont, my wife went to high school and grew up in Fremont. Her dad was a policeman in Fremont. Yeah.
Okay, well, then she probably knows Christy's mom, Jan Linder.
Jan Linder. I'll have to ask her.
Okay, all right, there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Interesting.
Question, my friend. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, Dean, I too have a home office or home studio that I work out of, and I need to, just inside the external door or the exterior door, I need to expand what I call a floor hole to get access to the crawl space, a better access. But the problem I run into when I expand that hole, well, they say there's no such thing as a stupid question. This one might fall into that category. I see a floor joist, and what I'm thinking I want to do with my brilliant mind is cut about 3 feet out of that floor joist to allow me to get in there and do what I have to do, and then replace that 3 feet with that glue they named after a big ape and wood screws. Will that affect the integrity of my floor that much?
Yes, it will.
It will.
Yeah, it will. So here's my two questions for you. We'll kind of dig into this stuff. Number one, is this just a one-off thing that you've got to do to get underneath the crawl space, to get in there? In other words, is it just something you got to do one time and you're never going to worry about getting under there again? That's one question I've got. Another question is, why isn't there a crawl space access from outside somewhere? Anyway, let's just start with those two questions.
Okay, I sure can. And I hate to admit this, but we did have an external crawl space. We put a deck on with a hot tub, and I didn't catch it, and I don't think the contractor did either. When he created the deck, we pretty much closed off that crawl space. And so that takes care of that. The reason there's a hole right now, about a 2.5 foot hole right at the door, is we never had a storm door on that door, and rain and water over 35 years got in there a little bit, and there was a soft spot just inside the door. So about 2 weeks ago, I went in and tore out that soft spot. So I'm thinking two things. I get rid of the soft spot, somehow I'm going to reinforce it, but while I've got that soft spot, why not create a larger hole and then put like a trap door when I'm all done? Then I still have an access point to that crawl space in the future.
Okay, I got you. All right, so here are the facts, okay? And you can make your decision about what you want to do with it, but here are the facts. Number one, the reason I asked if it was a one-off, because making a crawl space opening, which is not a bad idea at all, but it's involved. It's a little more involved than just cutting and then re-gluing. You can't do that.
Okay.
Because you are compromising the floor by just the idea of re-gluing a piece on. But the reason I asked whether it was a one-off is because you can definitely get access to that crawl space if you're not, and no personal things here, but if you're not a huge person, I'll put it this way. Floor joists are 16 inches on center, okay? 16 inches apart from each other from center to center, which leaves 14 3/8 inches on average in between a floor joist space, right? Or even a stud wall, same story.
Yeah.
I am 6'3", 200 plus pounds, and I can easily slide in between the studs or the floor joists or the roof rafters that have a 14 3/8 space.
Okay.
So if it's a one-off, what you can do is you cut back your plywood, cut a nice square opening there, and slide yourself down in between the joists to get down there and do whatever you need to do, and then you cut back up and you just get the plywood back in place again, nicely blocked on the edges so that you've got support for any edge that you've cut for the plywood. And you're done. And you could even not glue that piece of plywood back down, just screw that back down so that it becomes your quote-unquote ongoing access, because it's not something really that you're getting down into very often, if ever at all.
Correct.
Again, but who knows, and it's there, and you won't have to tear up the plywood again to do it. If you cut the floor joist to actually make a formal access, then what we've got to do is this. This is how it's done by code and in the framing world. If we cut one floor joist, then the weight of the floor joist that remains on both sides of that cut, okay, that we've removed, the weight of that floor joist has to now be transferred to the floor joist on each side of it. In other words, we have to put in a head out, what we call, which is another small block of floor joist that supports it and runs to the other two. But it's not even that simple, because those floor joists to each side are only really engineered to hold their own weight that they're doing. So ideally, those floor joists on both sides of the one that you're going to cut have to be doubled up. They have an additional joist added to them, doubled up, now double floor joists on each side, then a double joist head out across that holds the joist end that you've cut, and you do that on both sides of your cut, and now you've got your crawl space head out that will last forever and have easy access and not compromise the floor. But as you just heard me describe, that's a bit of work.
Yeah.
And technically, for a raised foundation house, anybody who has a crawl space under their house, technically you should have an accessible crawl space, right?
Right.
By code. But that doesn't mean there's nothing magic about an accessible crawl space that makes everything go bad under there. If everything's fine under there, then you might just want to remove the plywood, slide in between the existing joists without cutting them, do your business down there, get back up and put the plywood back. Does that make sense, my friend?
It does. It makes perfect sense. Yeah. I think I can take
All right.
that last option of slipping between the current joists and go from there. Yeah.
I think if you haven't had any crawl space issues and there's nothing funky going on under there, if it were me and my house and I'd accidentally, crawl, if I had inherited a house where the crawl space was missing and I knew that everything to the crawl space was fine, then that's the option I would take. I would take the minimal amount of intrusion down there. Otherwise, we're doing, I'm not going to say serious framing. It's not. But once the house is already built, it takes some effort to slide extra joist in there and double all that up and actually create a formal space. And that, by the way, for everybody who's listening, is true of floor joists. It's true of ceiling joists when you're trying to make an attic access. It's true of roof rafters when you're trying to cut a hole in the roof to put in a skylight. It's all the same principle. You double up the joists or the rafters on each side of the one that you're cutting, and then you put that perpendicular double board in to support it and transfer that weight to the other ones, and there it is.
Yeah.
It's easy to do when you're framing the house for the first time. A bit of a hassle getting access to it when you have to do it after the fact. Stan,
Makes
it's
perfect
a pleasure
sense.
talking to you from Toledo, Ohio. Ask your wife if she knows Jan Linder.
I
because
sure
she's
will.
a gem and one of
I
our
sure will.
dearest family members and our best friend. All right.
Thank
Guess
you.
what? When we come back, we're going to get sticky with it again. And
Sticky with it.
we're